Hello everyone. It's James again. And in today's video, I want to talk about something very important. It's very important if you have sons you are raising. No matter you are a single father, or a single mother, or you have both mother and father in the home raising this young boy. What all of this is about is knowing the best gifts to give to your son. These life gifts that will help him grow up to be a wise, strong, and productive man that is able to sidestep bad friends, abusive women, and those that may want to hurt him. The reason why this is so valuable is it seems no one wants to educate young boys with this information, let alone any life information whatsoever. When young girls are being raised, they are taught what type of boys they should spend their time with, and what type of boys they aren't supposed to be around. You often hear women telling other young girls, if a man ever raises his hand to you, leave him right then and there, and don't look back. They are taught they can do anything boys can do, and are told they can do them better. They are told they are smarter than boys. They are told they mature faster than boys. They are told everything they do is better than boys, thus building up their high self-esteem. Meanwhile, we don't pass along these gifts, good blessings, and words to our young boys that we are raising. So what are the gifts we need to pass down to our children? First and foremost, that they are worth something very important, not just to you, because you are their parent, but to the world. Let this child know he has a special gift inside of him that makes him unique, and that it's time to go on a journey of self-discovery to find out what that talent is. And once the talent is discovered, work with this young boy child on this so he can be the best he can be with this talent. This talent might be math, it might be woodworking, it might be baseball, it might be drawing, and it might be business. That's right, you might have a mini entrepreneur on your hands. Help them find this talent that lay asleep inside of them. Help them wake up this talent, and help them cultivate this talent. The next gift to give your child is that of self-preservation and self-protection. You teach them this because they are so special and so unique. And this specialness and uniqueness must be protected, that others may come into their life and might try to hurt them, or take from them, or bring them down in some way. You teach them because they have such a high self-worth, that they are to, under no circumstances, let anyone take from them the things they have worked so hard to achieve and build in their life. No matter it be a friend, girlfriend, teacher, future employer, no one. And just like all gifts, they need to be put into use all the time, and looked at. So often remind your young boy child about his need for self-preservation and self-protection. The next gift is to teach your young son what type of woman he should stay away from, and the qualities that make up a good woman. If you're a single parent, model this behavior with the type of woman you choose to be involved with, and that you may have involved with your son. For the single mothers, model this behavior with the way you treat the man in your life. The worst mistake young boys have is when they have single mothers as a main parent that teach their young boys to be doormats. And this single mother may treat all of the men in her life this way, and then this young boy indeed turns out to be a doormat. Any woman that is a single mother needs to make sure she gives him the brutal honest truth how women and young girls can be. Educate him on these things. And fathers need to do the same. Be honest with your boys about the truths of life, and teach them accordingly. The next gift is to make sure there is a good male and female role model for this boy child so he can see on a regular basis how men and women are supposed to be. Now this doesn't mean to run out and find any woman to be in your child's life, or for a woman to find any man to be in your child's life. But as a responsible single parent, you should be looking for a potential long-term relationship that don't only benefit you, but also might benefit your son. Also ask yourself, does this child have a favorite aunt or uncle that have been happily married for many years? Make sure your son gets to spend quality time with these people. People that can provide a proper life role model for your young son. Also, if you're a single mother, do your best to let your son have a good relationship with his father. And same with single fathers. If at all possible, let your son have a good relationship with his mother. Now this might not always be possible if your former spouse is toxic, a narcissist, or a drug user, alcohol abuser, and the list goes on and on. That being said, a child without a father and a child without a mother will have problems growing up, and they will miss certain important milestones that will properly bring them into adulthood if they don't have a good mother and father in their life, or at least male and female role models. The next gift to give your young son is teach them how to break up with a woman. This is so important. Because the last thing you want your son is to get mesmerized by a toxic young girl and stay stuck on her without a way to leave her so he can move forward in life and progress. There's an old saying, practice makes perfect. And when they have mentorship on how to start and how to end relationships and why some relationships need to come to an end, and they are able to put this into practice a few times, it then becomes easier and easier to do so if they find themselves with someone that just is no good. Because if your son can do this, he won't get caught up in the roadblocks of life and won't miss fulfilling his potential. The next gift to give your son is to teach him a physical skill, such as woodworking, mechanics, and other practical things every boy should know so he doesn't have to depend on others when something needs to be fixed or taken care of. If you don't know these skills to pass down to your son, make sure he's enrolled in classes to gain these skills. And don't just make sure he's enrolled, but follow up with your son by letting him do things around the house from year to year to keep these skills sharp. The next gift to give your son is to do whatever you have to do to make sure your son gets good grades in school and they are getting a great education. The fact is, majority of those going to and graduating college are women, not men. And it's not because men are less than, or somehow not as smart as women. The reason is there's tons of mentorship for young women but not young men. Young boys are told all day how inferior they are to women. Thus they stop trying hard in school. Well, it's your job to instill why education is important to your son, and follow through with doing whatever it takes to help your son achieve his educational goals. The next gift is teach your son how to survive by working for himself, and not others. Make sure your son has the ability to support himself by the way of his own talents and skills. There was once a time every man had a skill or trade that allowed him to support himself without working for another man. However, today that is lost. But look at what type of raising is being done with the young boys out there. No one is teaching them how to work for themselves. Thus no one is doing it, except the girls. The next gift is teach your son the importance of physical strength, and why that is important, though it has great health benefits. For a young boy to pick up steel weights and properly develop a masculine body allows him to get in touch with the primal side of being a young man that is often suppressed nowadays. Yes, there is a time for young males to be aggressive, and one of those places is the high school weight room. Also, developing a masculine physique will put him in the running for future female dating possibilities in his upcoming future. Because it's easy to teach a young boy what type of woman he should end up with, but it's another for him to also be able to meet such a woman. And no matter if the young lady is very good and decent or not, they all respond to a male that has a masculine build as opposed to one that isn't built at all. This is a primal thing that goes back centuries. And a young man that is built very masculine-like will make a woman feel safe. Thus, she will become easily attracted to him. You don't want your young man going through life not going on dates and not learning how to interact with women in a healthy way. And the best way for him to do so is know how to attract a woman. First, to get things started, you can't teach one without the other. It's great to have breakup skills, but it's also important to know how to attract a woman as well. The next gift to give your son is the gift of empathy for others. I mention empathy at this point because it seems like children in such broken situations might have tons of empathy to begin with, depending on the child. Hence that's why they may grow up to be doormats. But again, you can't teach one thing without the other. Though you are teaching self-preservation to your child, you also need to teach him to be empathetic to others and their feelings. That brings me to the next gift, the gift of having boundaries. And yes, the first boundary is, if any woman raises their hand to them, to leave and don't look back. Sit down with your son and give him example scenarios where his friends and buddies, or girls he might encounter, or even his teachers, may try to cross these boundaries. And then show your son how to respond correctly to such situations. How to respond in such a way that keeps his manhood intact, but allows him to set a standard on how he is expected to be treated in the future. The next gift is to bless your son often. You might be at the dinner table and you might bless him with all the good things by telling him that you love him, and by showing him you care by your actions. Actions by placing your hand on his head and giving him a blessing. But later on those actions turn into your showing, demonstrating, and being active in your son's life. The next gift is teaching your son how to learn from his failures. It seems we learn the most when we fail. Well, it's better they learn when they are young than when they are older. So teach them to learn from their failures. And the next and last gift is if you're a Christian. This goes along with the blessing of your son. Teach your son many of the lessons from the Bible. There are story after story how a young man can either do great things with their life, or how they can screw it all up. So use the Bible for many of the lessons you teach him. Plus you want your young Christian son to learn how to love God with all their heart and strength. The facts are, there are many good gifts to give our sons. The question you have to ask yourself, what are you doing for your son? Are you building him up to be a man? Or are you setting him up for a lifetime of failures? Like I always say, knowledge is power. The more we know, the more we can live happy and healthy lives. Until next time. Bye for now. And be good to yourself.